There are plenty of videos out there that can teach you the mechanical way to line up your putts using the green grid, but this is only the tip of the iceberg, and in this video I'm going to reveal to you my best kept secret that helped me average 24 putts per round on some of the toughest courses across the entire season in the TGC Tours Kinetic League. As a player on the TGC Tours professional leagues with a world ranking of inside the top 350, what makes me the right person to help you get better at PGA Tour 2K23 is that I'm not the best. I am just like you, but with how I have set up my player and the secrets of the short game that I have learned, I'm able to compete at the highest level, and so can you. I started playing golf with my dad when I was a young lad, and for many years it was my passion, but as I got older I had less time, less free money, a bad back, and to top it all off, skin cancer. I finally got the message and put my clubs away. My golf fix now comes from PGA Tour 2K23, which I love for its swing mechanics, which make it the most realistic golf game around. This is a bit of a long way of saying I'm not going to tell you to look at the grid lines and flick the controller X times to find your putt path. Yes, I look at the grid and use it to read the green, just like I did with my dad on the real golf course. I picture the green's contours in my head, and from that the putt's path. But there are some things that I've learned from the hundreds of hours I've played PGA Tour 2K23 that will help you. Firstly, always check out the green speed. Here, this number shows how many feet the ball will travel when hit at 100% on a perfectly flat green. So the higher the number, the faster the green is and the more the ball will roll out. Anywhere over a 150 and you're into fast green territory. At the max of 188, it's more like Augusta. This is actually really important for a couple of reasons. Firstly, on the fastest greens you might want to take a little bit off the default aim point, as it's very easy for putts to run away from you, but not on uphill putts, which for some reason seem to often come up short on fast greens. But probably more importantly, on faster greens you will be hitting the ball slower because of the extra rollout, and a slower moving ball takes more break, so allow for a little more than usual. It is tempting to just look at the break between you and the pin in order to read the putt, but do look beyond the pin as well. It isn't realistic to expect to hole every putt, and while you want to give every putt a chance by getting it to the hole, you also don't want to make a silly 3-putt when the green is running away from you once it gets past the pin. Take a little off the putt to avoid this. Now if you do hit the putt past the hole, make sure you watch how the ball rolls until it stops. This will help you read the putt back and avoid any ghost breaks fooling you. I've already mentioned about the default aim point needing to be adjusted on fast greens, but the same is true on any downhill putt, because the default is just wrong, and if you don't adjust it, then you're going to be blasting the ball past the hole and even off the green. A simple rule of thumb is to take just under a foot off the putt for every inch downhill the putt is. Now if you are playing on TGC Tour settings, you will need to judge this using the green grid, as there is no distance meter. For putts down 4 inches, I would take off roughly the distance between two of the lines. For a foot down, about 3 times this, and maybe even more on faster greens, and less on slower. Now I have mentioned before that slower moving putts take more break, and this is particularly so if you're trying to lag a downhill putt. Allow for more break than your first seed. This is good practice no matter what, as you want to keep the ball on the high side, so that it always has a chance of dropping into the hole, which it won't do on the low side. And if you are faced with a downhill putt which drops 1 foot or more, firstly, clench. The way I picture these putts is to aim for a point from which gravity will take the putt to the hole. This can sometimes mean aiming sideways, almost away from the hole, but if you can master this, you will save yourself a lot of shots. While slower moving putts and downhill putts break more, hitting the ball harder will take the break out of a putt, which is a lifesaver, particularly on uphill putts up to 10 foot. Add additional power to the default position, allow for less break than normal, and swing positively. Now you can also do this with downhill putts in the 1 inch to 4 inch downhill range once you get comfortable with the technique. Let's quickly run through 3 you should know when reading the green that can fool you. Putts turn less from break immediately in front of the hole. You can see here that despite there being some pretty hard left to right break in front of the hole, the ball hardly turns until it is well past the hole. Do allow less break when you have this on a putt. Break just behind the ball is very tough to judge. The ball will start to break immediately, so it can appear as if the ball starts out in a different direction to the aim path, like this putt. But if I draw in the aim line of the putt and slow the putt down, you can see that the ball does start on the aim line but very quickly breaks away from it. So allow for this break in your aim point. Break just in front of the ball has less effect on the putt path because the ball is moving faster. The break on this putt here is quite strong, but I allow for slightly less when aiming because I knew that the ball would react less. The final thing that you should know is that when faced with a relatively flat putt, putting from off the green is a good option. If there is a lot of break or the flag is further away, I would always chip, but the flat stick can be incredibly effective on shots like this one. Now if you are struggling with your chips and bunker shots, then you need to watch this video here, in which I break down the secrets of the short game.